Good morning, FlossTube. My name is Leann, and I am leann.stitches here on YouTube and on Instagram, and this is my third FlossTube. I just wanted to say thank you for all of the likes, comments, and subscribes that I've gotten over the last couple of weeks since doing my first FlossTube video. You guys have been so welcoming to me, and I'm just really excited to still be here and still going. For everyone who might be tuning in for the first time, this is my channel mostly about cross stitch. Occasionally there might be some knitting and crochet, but mostly cross stitch. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, grab a drink and your project and sit for a minute with me as I talk about what I stitched on this past week. I didn't get as much stitching done last week as I have previously, and I shouldn't say stitching. I got lots of stitching done, but I only have a little bit of progress to show you because most of the stitching I did this past week was model stitching, and I won't be able to show those for a few more weeks yet. The other reason why I didn't get as much stitching done this time is because I have been completely obsessed with the Bridgerton novels. I don't know if you've seen the series on Netflix that came out a few weeks ago, but I devoured it in just a couple of days while I was off of work for the holidays. And when I found out that there was a book series that it was based on, I had to dive into it right away. And it took me a little while to get into the first book, which was what the Netflix series was based on, and it took me about a week to finish that, but I'm now just starting the 5th novel just a couple of weeks later. I think I read the 3rd one in just a day. I started and finished it in the same day, which is rare for me these days. So I do have some progress to show you, but it's not going to be as prolific as last week. So without further ado, I'll get to the stitching. The first project I worked on after my last video, which is what I told you about, was Reader's Paradise. And I had about 300 stitches to go until I could cross it off of both my Whip Go and my bingo board. Whip Go is a game by Jessie Marie Sykes, who I believe is Jessie Marie Does Stuff, or it might be Jessie Does Stuff on Instagram. And it's a bingo board where you write out your whips and you make some goals, and then each month she calls 2 numbers, and that's what you work on for that month, or you focus on for that month. And then bingo is for Full Coverage Fanatics, another Facebook group, and it's just their January challenge where there's a bingo board and each square has prompts, and you match one of your full coverage pieces to that prompt, and then you stitch 1,000 stitches. And if you don't have something that matches that prompt, you stitch 2,000 stitches as your penalty. So I wanted to finish this after last week's video, and it's Reader's Paradise by Heaven and Earth Designs. And it's artwork by Amy Stewart. And like I said, I had 300 stitches to go. So I'm still working in the top corner. And I worked on a lot of brown to start. And so I decided I wanted to add in some of that red that you can see coming in up here, just for a little burst of color. And so I got a little over 300 stitches done on that. And that finished out my Whip Go square and my Full Coverage Fanatic bingo square. And then after that, as I said on my last video, I am doing my first stitch along, or SAL, and it's called Superhero Saturday SAL, where I am working on my Marvel Heroes piece, which is a gift for my husband. And I have a really big goal on this year. I'd like to get 50,000 stitches done on it, which equates to roughly 1,000 stitches a week. And for a piece that is so confetti heavy, it's a big goal. So I devised this little SAL to see if anyone wanted to join me on working on stitch alongs. And so last Saturday, I got 500 more stitches done, and I just kept going down here. And then when I got to this last bit here, this is Silver Surfer's surfboard. And you can see Silver Surfer's head right there. And it's very up and down, like the colors just kind of run up and down the board almost in stripes, and so it felt kind of natural to just keep going. And so I did, and then I moved over and kind of did the same thing here, and then I'll probably go back to my diagonal stitching after that. But I got about 500 stitches done on that last Saturday. And then I also decided, because that was 2 Saturdays in a row where I got 500 stitches done, and again I said, I mentioned that if I want to meet my goal this year, I have to get about 1,000 stitches done a week. So I decided to try to work on it about 30 minutes a day before I do any other stitching. So I got another 200-ish stitches done the first couple of days of the week before I really got into my model stitching. So I made quite a lot of progress this week, and I'm looking forward to stitching on it again today. The next piece I worked on was my Kringles Dimensions Gold Ornament, and it's Kringles Toys. And I used this for a task in Magical Stitches. I actually used it for 2 tasks in Magical Stitches. I worked on it 2 different days. This week we are supposed to be stitching the word demigod. We're getting ready to start reading the Percy Jackson novels, and so they're using this month as a teaching month to kind of show us how the challenges are going to go, and anyone who's new can kind of learn and ask questions before the actual competition starts. And so I used this one for the letter D in demigod because there is a door on it. So there's where I'm at. Let me pull my needle out. And I have finished all of the pink that it makes up the brick building, and then I've started in on the red accents. So anywhere you kind of see, like there's 2 little stitches right there and here, and then around the doors. And then I believe the full door that I used as my reason to stitch on this is also in this red. Just gonna put my needle back in. So yeah, I got about, between the 2 challenges, I got almost 500 stitches done on this week, which means that I'm halfway to another bingo square. So I'm excited about that. The next piece I stitch on was Ever After by Tilton Crafts. And I believe the artwork is by Daniel Kordick. And Ever After is just one of my favorite movies of all time. So when I saw that piece, especially with the wings, and I can just hear her in the movie saying, "Just breathe." It's one of my favorite moments, so I had to stitch this. My whip go goal for this month, this is my last number that got called that I need to work on, is 2,000 stitches. And I got 1,000 of those stitches done this week over several days. And what I did was I just kept on going down this path. And then I came back up here and I started filling in with a little bit brighter of a blue. I don't know if it's coming out or not, or if it just all looks like the same color, but I started back up here and it's extending out a little bit that way. So I'm just gonna keep coming down as I keep going to finish out that whip go goal this week. And then that is also a bingo piece, and I also used it for demigod. For that Magical Stitches, I used it for the first D for dress, I used it for the G for a girl, and I used it for E for the eyes. So I was able to get 3 letters out of that one, plus my my bingo square and my whip go goal. So it was a lot of stitching on that one. The next piece that I worked on, I kind of wanted to try to work on some of my non-full coverage pieces because it's been, what, 3 weeks now, almost 2 weeks now of almost all full coverage, and I was missing some of my other stuff. So I pulled out Quaker Pumpkins, which I haven't worked on in quite a while. I don't know if I've actually worked on it since I started it back in September. And this is a piece that I converted into my own floss that I dye and my own fabric. And I used this for an Enchanted Stitching Challenge. So I did about 250 stitches. The challenge was to use gold or turquoise floss. So I worked on this first pumpkin right here in that gold floss. It's actually a colorway called Brown Sugar. And then the fabric is a 32 count Belfast linen that I dyed, and it's just a piece that I dyed when I was learning how to dye fabric. So it's kind of like a, I don't want to say it's a minty green, but almost like a eucalyptus green, I guess. So that was that one, and that one is really hard for me to put down. I don't know why I don't pick it up more often, but progress goes on it so fast, and it's so much easier to see 250 stitches on a piece like this than a full coverage piece, so it was kind of fun to watch that pumpkin start to come to life. And then the last piece I worked on this week was my Long Dog Sampler Castles in the Air, and I don't think I've picked up this one since May. So I used it for another Enchanted Stitching Challenge, and that one was for an Outcast whip, which whip means work in progress. And so since I haven't worked on it since May, I would definitely call that an Outcast. And the reason why I hadn't worked on it was because I was doing backstitch. I had finished the first page of stitching, and I was doing the backstitch, and I just wasn't happy with how it was coming out. I don't know if you can see, like there's this back stitching here, and I don't know, all along the top. I'm having a hard time seeing it from this far away, but it just wasn't coming out very well. And I decided to just dive back in, and I worked on these bees here, and then everything else all the way down to the bottom. There's a bunch of back stitching in here and over here. And so I finished all of that, and then I started in on the second page over here to bring me over to that top left corner, because I started in the middle. And then once I got back into the full crosses, it started to go a lot faster. But I was pretty happy with my back stitching this time. I thought the bees came out a lot better than any of the other back stitching that I had been doing back in May. How many times can I say the word back in one sentence? So yeah, that made me excited to work on that piece again. So hopefully I'll get to find another challenge to use it in soon, so I can do some more progress on that, because like I said, now that I'm back to the full cross stitching, it's gotten a lot more fun to work on, and you know, working in just a single color can be pretty relaxing. So the one thing I need to do is I'm still working off of paper for it, and I know Long Dog samplers are pretty compatible with Pattern Keeper, and so I really want to find my PDF copy and import that into Pattern Keeper, and hopefully that will make it go by even, I hate to use the word faster because I don't really want my stitching to go by fast, but it is nice to see progress. So that was all the stitching I did this week that I can show you at least. I did do actually about 3,000 or 4,000 stitches on those model pieces that I told you about. And I'm really excited about them. They're my own designs, and it's for a Valentine's Day box that I've had up in my shop for a while, and we're getting ready to ship them out, but I need to finish the models so I can take the photography, so the patterns are all ready. So I'm gonna keep working on that this week. I finished the first one, and I've started on the second one, and I'm about a quarter of the way through that second one, so that is kind of going to be the majority of my weekend, is finishing that stitch up so I can FFO it, which means to fully finished object for photography. They're just a couple of little smalls that I plan on making into kind of like some dough bowl pillows. I've been wanting to make some of those for a really long time, and I thought this was a good excuse. So I'm going to be working on those. And then the other piece I really want to pull out is this Dimensions Gold ornament. It's of a church, and I think this is the one that has some carolers. Yeah, there's some carolers singing out front right in there. And I have it marked to use for an Enchanted Stitching monthly challenge, which is you can stitch 1,600 stitches on any piece, and you get a bonus if you can tie it into the Cathedral of Notre Dame, because the movie this month that we're stitching is The Hunchback of Notre Dame. So I thought it's a church, it fits. It will also work for a bingo square for full coverage fanatics. And then I think I might have it in a couple of the weekly pieces, but it is also No New Starts is doing birthday sals, where every 2 weeks, they pick, you know, if it's your birthday, that's kind of your sal, and they pick a piece for you to work on, where if it's your birthday, you can work on whatever you want, but the rest of us have to work on whatever is chosen. And for January 16th through 31st, it is Dimensions Gold, any Dimensions Gold kit. So I want to work on that. I kind of want to tie all that in to the Full Coverage Fanatics Bingo and my Enchanted Stitching monthly challenge, and hopefully get a lot of mileage out of those stitches. And I also want to finish that this year, so 1,600 stitches will go a long way towards that. There's really, with back stitches included, there's about 5,000 stitches in each ornament, so that'll really get me pretty far on that. It's Saturday, so I'm going to work on Marvel superheroes today. If you have a superhero piece that you would like to join me on my sal, I would love to see it on Instagram. Just use the hashtag #SuperheroSaturdaySal. And then what else do I have planned for this week? I'm going to finish those Ever After stitches for Whip Go, because that's my last square and I will be done. And it's also going to get me a bingo on my Full Coverage Fanatics bingo board. Here is my board, and so that's where Ever After is. Wait, no, that's where Ever After is right there, and it's penalty stitches. So I need 2,000 stitches for that, and I believe I have 1,150 done, so I'm going to do 850 more and get my first bingo. And after that, I think I'm going to pull out Reader's Paradise again. I showed that one already. So if I do another 1,000 stitches on that, it will be another bingo, because that square, that's that one right there. And so then I will have this bingo and that bingo. And that would be pretty cool. If I don't get any others for the month, I would be pretty happy with that. And I also have that slated for a couple of Enchanted Stitching monthly challenges. It is for something that reminds me of the magic carpet from Aladdin, which the Reader's Paradise is full of this awesome carpet. And then also for 600 stitches on a piece that has 3 color families. And since Reader's Paradise has, I believe 87 colors, there's definitely 3 color families in there. I've already done grays and browns and reds, so there's 3 color families right there. So I think I'm I had thought about picking it up this past week, but then I got into my model stitching, so I definitely want to pick it up for next week. And then I'm gonna work some more on Kringles. I've got a little over 500 stitches left until I can finish out that bingo square. It's not gonna get me anywhere close to a bingo, but at least I can cross it off because I started it, and so I want to finish it. I also, in order to keep going on some of my non-full coverage pieces, I'm thinking about pulling out Consider the Lilies. I have it slated for one more Magical Stitches letter for O. I thought I was being pretty clever because I couldn't find anything in any of my pieces that started with an O, but it does have the tree and Adam and Eve, so I thought I was being clever by saying it has Original Sin. So I'm going to use that, and I need 200 stitches for that task. And then I also have it slated for an Enchanted Stitching monthly task for 500 stitches. So I think I'm going to work on that for a little bit. And then lastly, No New Starts 2021 is having a Scrabble challenge where they're going to give a bunch of letters and you have to make a word, and then you have to stitch on something that relates to that word somehow. So I believe that starts on Monday, but I'm not for sure. I think it was the 18th or the 19th. So I'm kind of waiting for that to see what my word is, waiting for the new Magical Stitches homework and the new Enchanted Stitching homework before I make any solid plans, but that's kind of where I'm headed right now. I think that's about it for my stitching. I promised my daughter Noelle that I would show this. She made me a Valentine's Day coupon book, and she wanted me to tell you everything that's in it. So coupon number 1 is Stitching Together. And she got a little unicorn cross-stitch kit for Christmas last year in 2019, I think. And so she pulled it out and she sat with me on my bed last night and we had a little mother-daughter stitching time, and it was so neat. You know, she probably got about 5 stitches in, and then she got up to gargle salt water, and she decided to make all of the plans for all of the stitching she was going to do. So first she's going to do the light purple, and then she's going to do the dark purple, and then she's going to do the next part, and then the next part. And so I was trying to tell her, why don't you just finish the thread you're on and then see where you go? But she's 8, so she is here, there, and everywhere. But it was still fun. And then coupon number 2 is help make dinner. And she's gotten really good at that, especially if we're just having leftovers. She will get out leftovers and plates and she'll heat them up for me. Coupon number 3 is a movie and popcorn, because we do movie nights with popcorn and M&Ms. Coupon number 4 is 3 hugs, and I cashed that one in last night at bedtime, I'm not gonna lie, and I'll probably cash it in again today, maybe twice, because I love my hugs. And then the last coupon is choose whatever you want. I'm not really sure what I'm going to choose because this pretty much covers it. I mean, it's pretty amazing. So I promised her I would show you. So now I have. I think that's really it. Thank you for joining me. Oh, I remember the last thing. I had a question from somebody. I didn't write down your name. I'm so sorry. She asked if I stitch in a hoop, in hand, or on a Q-snap, and I really prefer Q-snaps. I learned on a hoop. That was my mom's preferred method of stitching. And when I went back to buy the same hoops that I remember using as a kid, they're just not strong enough anymore. It was the spring hoops where you have the 2 little handles and it goes into the little plastic frame. And when I was a kid, they held the fabric so tight, and the ones that I found this past year when I picked up stitching again just were flimsy, and they had no strength to them, and they popped out all the time. And so I learned about Q-snaps on FlossTube, and so now I pretty much stitch everything in a Q-snap. You could see when on my Christmas ornament I have that in a little 6x6 Q-snap, even though it doesn't fit over the sides. It is really my favorite way to stitch now. I really don't enjoy stitching in hand, and I'm not sure if it's because it makes my hands cramp, and I had a lot of that from knitting. I mentioned it on my first FlossTube video that I spent a year knitting a wedding dress just for marketing purposes, to show off at conventions, and now it's on a dress form sitting in my shop. And it really made my hands cramp a lot, and so when I stitch in hand, a lot of that cramping comes back. And I have exercises and stuff I can do to relieve it, but I'd really rather not. And if I can avoid that by stitching in a hoop, then that's what I do. So yeah, that was the only question I got. If you have any questions, I would love to answer them, either in the comment section or here. And so thank you for joining me for another week. I hope you have a great week, and I hope that whatever you do this week, that you lead with love. Bye.